Tariff rebate checks could soon be heading to millions of Americans. He said this just days ago while speaking aboard Air Force One. But there's a major obstacle standing in the way, and it all ties back to the ongoing government shutdown. I've spent hours reviewing Congressional Budget Office reports, Senate voting records, and the latest proposals so you don't have to. What I found is both deeply frustrating and potentially life-changing for millions of struggling families. Let's go over exactly what's happening with these tariff rebate checks, why they're stalled, and what you need to know right now.
First, let's talk about Trump's exact words. Just a few days ago, multiple reports confirmed that President Trump said tariff checks are probably coming to millions of Americans and soon. That's a direct quote, probably coming and soon. But here's where things get tricky. The Trump administration has already collected billions of dollars in tariff revenue, massive sums just sitting there. Earlier in October, reports suggested that this tariff money could even be used to keep the government open. So the big question is, if there's all this extra cash from tariffs, why isn't it being used? Why aren't we funding SNAP benefits with it? Why aren't military families getting their paychecks? Why are federal workers still furloughed if there's money available? That's the billion-dollar question everyone's asking, and it all comes down to one word: legality.
Here's the core issue. There's serious debate right now over whether the administration can legally spend this tariff money. Some experts argue that the reciprocal tariffs themselves might not even be legal, meaning the revenue collected could legally belong back to the American people. The Supreme Court is expected to take up this question possibly in November, or it could be delayed until 2026. Nobody knows for sure. What's interesting is that Republicans actually challenged Democrats on this issue about a month ago. They said, essentially, if you want to fight us on paying military personnel, go ahead, see what happens. They knew that blocking military paychecks, even over legal concerns, would be political suicide for Democrats. Now the question becomes, if the administration decides to send these rebate checks directly to Americans, who would actually try to stop it? Who's going to sue to block financial relief for struggling families? That's the political gamble playing out behind closed doors right now.
So what kind of checks are being discussed? Originally, Trump proposed $1,000 to $2,000 per person in tariff rebates. Then, Senator Josh Hawley introduced a competing proposal for $600 per person. That's the version currently sitting before the Senate. No one knows which plan will move forward or if an entirely new proposal will replace them. But right now, the numbers being debated range from $600 to $2,000 per person. The unanswered questions? Will everyone receive the same amount? Will it depend on how much you've spent on imported goods? Or will it be based on income level or family size? These details are still being worked out, and that's incredibly frustrating because families need answers now, not months down the line.
The government shutdown is making all of this even worse. According to a new Congressional Budget Office report released yesterday, the shutdown could cost the U.S. economy between $7 billion and $14 billion in lost GDP. Here's the breakdown. If the shutdown lasts 4 weeks, that's about $7 billion lost. If it drags on for 6 weeks to 2 months, we could lose up to $14 billion. And here's the kicker. Some of that lost income from furloughed workers will never be recovered. It's just gone. Now think about that. We have billions of dollars in tariff revenue sitting unused while billions are being lost because of the shutdown. The math speaks for itself. That tariff money could cover those losses. But instead, here's what's happening. Military members aren't being paid, SNAP benefits are at risk, WIC programs are running out of funds, federal employees are furloughed with no clue when their next paycheck is coming, and all of this is happening while Washington debates whether to send out rebate checks?
Let's be clear about who's suffering because of this gridlock. Military families. Your loved ones serve this country. You shouldn't have to worry about rent or groceries while they're in uniform. SNAP recipients. Millions of low-income families rely on food stamps to feed their kids. With SNAP funding uncertain, families are being forced into impossible choices. WIC participants, pregnant women, new mothers, and young children depend on WIC for formula and nutritious food. If that shuts down, the consequences are devastating. Federal workers, whether you're furloughed or working without pay, the bills keep coming. Landlords and utility companies don't wait for Washington to get its act together. Low-income households, you're already paying more for essentials because of the tariffs. Now, the one thing that could help, those rebate checks, is trapped in political limbo. These aren't theoretical policy issues. These are real families facing real hardship right now.
To complicate things further, tariffs themselves are now under attack. This week, the Senate voted to end the 50% tariffs on Brazil. Several Republicans crossed party lines to help Democrats pass it. Now, it's unlikely to pass the House, where Republicans have made it tougher to bring these bills up, but it shows there's bipartisan frustration over how tariffs are being managed. Here's why that matters. Brazil is one of the few countries where the U.S. actually runs a trade surplus. We sell more to them than they sell to us. So putting massive tariffs on Brazil doesn't even make sense economically. The Senate is also planning votes on tariffs involving Canada and over 100 other trading partners. If those tariffs get rolled back, it means less revenue coming in, and that could directly impact whether rebate checks are funded at all. Everything is interconnected. Every decision affects everything else.
Let's be honest, the situation is messy, frustrating, and chaotic. But here's what's certain. The tariff money exists. It's sitting there right now. The only question is when or if it will be distributed. Trump has confirmed the rebate checks are probably coming. Senator Hawley's $600 proposal is in front of the Senate today. The system to send payments, like with past stimulus checks or tax refunds, already exists. Once the decision is made, checks could go out fairly quickly. And politically, no one wants to be the person seen blocking relief for struggling Americans. That's why even legal hurdles might get set aside to push this through.
While politicians argue, here's what you can do to protect yourself. File your latest tax return. That's how the government will identify who qualifies and where to send the money. Even if you didn't owe taxes or earn much, file anyway. Document everything. If you're affected by the shutdown, keep proof of missed paychecks and delayed benefits. It may help if compensation or back pay is issued later. Seek emergency help immediately. Don't wait for rebate checks that might take months. Need food? Contact your local food bank. Need utility help? Check LIHEP programs. Federal workers? Some banks and credit unions are offering interest-free loans during the shutdown. Watch out for scams. Every time the government talks about sending money, scammers pounce. The government will never call asking for payment to release your check. They will never ask you for your bank login. Anyone offering to help you get your check faster for a fee is a scam. Hang up immediately.
Realistically, we won't have clear answers about these rebate checks for another 2 months, maybe not until early 2026. The Supreme Court still needs to decide the legality of the tariffs. The shutdown must end, and both the House and Senate must agree on a final plan. If you're counting on this money for December rent or January bills, that's probably not realistic. The more likely timeline is early 2026, assuming the legal and political hurdles are resolved.
President Trump did say that tariff checks are probably coming soon, but those words, probably and soon, are carrying a lot of weight right now. The money is real. The proposals are real. Hawley's $600 plan is sitting in the Senate. But with the government shutdown, legal disputes, and political infighting, nothing is guaranteed. If and when these checks are approved, they could bring real relief to families struggling to survive. $600 might not sound huge, but for many people, it could mean keeping the lights on, buying groceries, or catching up on rent. Still, we can't depend on it to fix the bigger issues: rising costs, low wages, and political gridlock. I'll be following this story every single day. The moment there's an official update, who qualifies, how much money, and when payments start, I'll post a video immediately. If this helped you understand what's happening behind the headlines, make sure to subscribe. I post weekly videos explaining government programs, benefits, and policy updates that affect low-income Americans. Check out the videos on your screen for more ways to get help right now while we wait for Washington to act. You're not alone in this. We'll get through it together, no matter how long it takes. See you in the next one.